If you're wondering why your job isn't paying you enough, if you're wondering how you can make more money, stick around. I'm going to discuss why the job market is falling apart. I'm going to discuss why Gen Z and people in general are just having less of a desire to work in regular 9-to-5 employed jobs. So guys, look, I've discussed in many different videos why jobs are losing people and why people don't want to work, right? And I've discussed wage growth. I've discussed a lot of those things, but the primary reason you go to work, guys, and I hate to make it sound like this, the primary reason you go to a job is to pay your bills, right? Everything that you do in a job is really just to serve the company and just to have their needs met as far as their goals and their numbers, right? So unfortunately speaking, a lot of companies promote this sort of our employees are our biggest asset mantra, to their employees, and sort of as just a slogan, that they use to make people feel better about, why they work for the company they work for. But unfortunately speaking, guys, the main feasible reason you are at the job you are at right now is for you to pay your bills, possibly, right? If you make enough, and to serve the company's needs, right? A company doesn't hire people because they want to help you make money. They hire people because they need you to do the job that the people in corporate don't have time to do or just don't want to do, right? Do you think the CEO or the vice president or the executive director wants to go in and make fucking cheeseburgers at McDonald's? No, they hire people to do that because they don't want to do it, right? So, the higher up you go, right? Like, I've talked to many different people that have worked in corporations and vice presidents and executives, and they all say the same thing. They say that the higher up you go, the easier your life becomes, because you have less work to do, right? Now, if you consider emails and phone calls work, I mean, that's debatable, right? But for example, that's really, what corporate really is all about. It's really just communicating with the people under you, communicating messages above you, and making sure people are doing what they do. But as far as the work goes, you're not doing anything laborious, and you're not doing things for an excessive period of time, right? The higher up you go, the more people you have under you doing work that's dirty work, that's tough, that's stressful, that's annoying, right? The less you have to do with, the higher up you go. So with that being said, right, most people who are in corporate are in their 40s and 50s and 60s, right? Like, or maybe even mid 30s. But as far as the potential for you to make a lot of money, and as far as making a corporate job your main source of income and your sort of way to scale yourself to a rich life, as far as making money and having a financially free existence, it's not a good way, right? So like, for example, like, I've said this before, but I don't think it's bad to want to get promoted or make more money. But I think a lot of people, again, place all of their bets in that one basket. And when things don't work out, right, like if they spent the past 3 to 5 years just trying to get promoted, right, then that's sort of like a liability, because you could have spent that 3 to 5 years working a second job, developing something online, learning how to invest your money, how to scale your money, learning how to invest. So we have a really tough predicament here as far as what people are looking for as it's related to increasing their income and also paving their way to financial freedom and making it so that they don't have to necessarily work 50, 60, 70 hours a week forever, right? Because unfortunately, like, you really have two or three options as far as like not having to work excessively in the future. And it's either you go up the corporate chain, which I think is the worst option, because again, why? It takes too long, right? If I told you right now it's going to take you 15 years to reach executive director, but you're only going to make $100,000 more than you are now. So let's say it takes you 15 years to make $160,000 a year. Are you going to take that deal? I don't like that deal. I know for some people that might sound like a lot of money, but I don't think that's a good deal at all, right? Especially, what you have to go through and how much time you could have spent on the side working up extra money, learning how to invest, learning how to scale something that you're passionate about, that you care about, that you have some expertise in, that you can deliver to other people, right? Like, unfortunately, the only expertise you can deliver in a job is what they want you to do on a daily basis, right? So there's not much as far as outside of the 40 to 50 hours a week you can do in a job to be able to scale your job to make more money, right? Now, obviously, again, it's sometimes it's just a waiting game, right? But as far as, people who are ambitious, people who want financial freedom, we understand that, waiting is the worst thing you can do, right? Because waiting, there's no guarantees in life, right? And as far as like waiting, right? Like waiting 5, 10, 15 years, right? For the fucking 60-year-old vice president to retire, right? That's a horrible deal. You could literally spend the next 2 to 5 years, right? Working that same job, but working on the side, making extra money with a second job or second form of side hustle, learning how to invest, and being able to leave that job in 5 years instead of waiting 15 years to make $100,000 more, but still stuck in that same job, right? So guys, unfortunately speaking, you have to start thinking outside of the little box that you're in, which is your 9 to 5, right? We all have to work a 9 to 5 to survive, to pay bills. But as far as leveraging yourself to be able to escape that job, or again, maybe work something that is, less stressful and requires less energy of you, so that you can allocate your energy elsewhere that is, put into something that you can scale, that you control, that you have the ability to, like make more out of. I think that's the best option. So, again, you guys who are working, that's great, that's fine. You need to work, you need to, sustain yourself. And if you're making, a little bit more to be able to invest, that's great, right? So I'm not saying that there's no benefit to working, but what I am saying is that there's no benefit to placing your energy into one thing and expecting that to be the catalyst that will get you to financial freedom. So like, for example, I've been talking recently about stock options and trading, right? If I make $1,000 in 2 weeks trading options, or I make $1,000 in a month, right? I can scale that $1,000 and turn that $1,000 into another $3,000, right? And then when I make that $3,000, I can scale that into $7,000 or $8,000, right? In a short period of time, 2 months. I know traders right now. I know people who, trade options who have turned like, $10,000 into $100,000 in like a year and a half, 2 years. So, you can waste a lot of time, trying to get promoted or trying to get a raise or trying to just move up the corporate ladder, right? And spend so much of your energy outside of work thinking about your job and thinking about ways to improve, right? Which is, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but you need to be looking at your life in a more intelligent way and think smart, right? Like, if you spend all of your time wanting to get promoted and the promotion only gives you an extra $20,000 or $30,000 a year, that's a bullshit deal, right? Especially if you're spending all of your time trying to figure that out, working 50, 60 hours a week, staying late, coming in early, doing all that extra shit, when you could actually go home, leave on time, do what you need to do at your job, and then just focus on scaling whatever you're building on the side. If it's your trading, if it's your business, if it's your side hustle that you want to, sort of fuse into a business at some point, it doesn't matter. But the point being is that the mindset has to change as far as thinking about being an investor and an entrepreneur, right? Like the rich people in this world that are relatively young, that aren't fucking 70 and have, like aches in their back and shit, are people who are entrepreneurs or investors, right? So I think the best approach is to become both, right? Like if you want to be ultra rich, being an entrepreneur and being an investor combined is the best way, right? Not everyone's entrepreneurial. Not everyone wants to, start a business and deal with whatever comes with that. So you can be an investor, right? I know plenty of people who again, just invest their money, buy real estate or trade options and live off of that income for the rest of their lives. And, like there's people that do that and then also travel, right? Like they can go to other countries, explore the world and just sort of live their life, right? Like not have to slave away to people that quite frankly don't care about you, right? And I'm gonna go on a little rant here, but guys, like what I was discussing earlier, as far as the job and how it's just set up for you to kind of just pay your bills and come back, that is what it is. That's what it is, guys. And I think a lot of us place a lot of our meaning in our job and care so much about our job, but guys, The job doesn't care about you, unfortunately speaking, right? The people in corporate, they don't know you exist. And if they do know you exist, they just look at you as a utility, right? They look at you as something that can get a job done, that can maybe, or, you know, like in some cases, maybe cover a shift, maybe cover someone's vacation, you know, stay late if your employee's late. Whatever the case is, you are a pure utility for them to be able to keep their business running. That's it. And, you know, it's funny as well. I think it's hilarious when companies say that we're a big family here. There's no such thing as a fucking family in corporate, at work. None of us are related. None of us have any familial, I mean, some of us do, right? But none of us, for the most part, have any familial relations. None of us see each other, for the most part, outside of work. So there is no such thing that we're not a family, right? Your family is your family, right? And your work, the people who you work with are your coworkers and your colleagues, right? So making that distinction is also key, right? Because a lot of us, you know, we get sort of indoctrinated by some companies to think we're a family and we're a culture and we deeply care about each other. That's all fucking bullshit, right? That is all a lie. Companies, people in corporate, they say that shit because it sounds nice, but in reality, they don't care about you. If you got let go tomorrow, they might miss you if you were a good employee, right? But eventually, you know, in a week or two, they'll find someone else. So get the idea out of your head that you should be placing a lot of your time and energy into, you know, getting promoted and getting raises. And instead, when you go home, start figuring out ways that you can scale yourself. Start learning how to develop your skills, or develop something that you're curious, like dive deep into something you're curious about. If it's finance, if it's real estate, if it's options trading, if you're into health, if you're into fitness, if you're into diet, exercise, right? If you're really passionate about helping people learn how to date, learn how to speak to the opposite sex, and learn how to, you know, just be successful with the opposite sex. Like, guys, there's so many different ways you can scale yourself online nowadays. So it makes no sense for you to place all of your energy into a job. Now, of course, that comes with what? That comes with having to sacrifice certain things, right? Because when you go home, you might not be able to play as much video games. You might not be able to hang out with friends. You might not be able to scroll your phone for 4 hours, right? You may not be able to also, you know, visit family, right? So there's going to be somewhat of a sacrifice and a cost to what you're doing if you decide to go on your own and start to build your own thing. But I think it's worth it. Why? Because you can scale higher, right? Whether it's with your investments or your entrepreneurial ventures, and you don't have to deal with the certain, you know, limitations that are placed upon you in a job, right? Like, you know, like, for example, right now, my company, the company I work for, I'm not going to say their name, but, and I'm sure this is across the board, but for example, right, my job, my company right now is cracking down on overtime, cracking down on hours, making sure that, you know, they're not going over budget. So with that being said, right, like, for example, if I am to cover someone else's day and cover someone else's shift, right, they, instead of giving me that extra day that would basically give me overtime, they ask me to work that day, but then take another day off the same week so that I'm still at my 40 hours. So guys, corporations, that just lets you know right there, companies don't want to pay you. They don't want you to be free. They don't want you to have any fucking money for yourself, to be able to invest, to be able to maybe, you know, or God forbid, pay for your fucking kids, pay for your bills, pay your needs. So why are you going to place all of your energy and like, you know, wants and desires into them? You go to your job, you do what you have to do, you pay your bills, and when you go home, you figure out how to scale your money, right? You can scale your money with trading, you can scale your money with real estate, you can scale your money with freelance work, with helping people online develop their business or develop your own business. There's many different ways. It's just up to you to be inquisitive, figure out what's for you, right? Because some things, there's just some things online that I don't have any interest in. But I can confidently say that if you are someone who's ambitious and passionate, you can find something that you can scale online that can make you extra money outside of your job. So, yeah, I mean, just going forward, guys, I don't want you guys to be in the trap of placing all of your energy into something that really, really doesn't care about you, whichever way you go. Even if you do get promoted, the people still don't care about you. They still just use you for what they need so that they don't have to go in and do that job, right? So anyways, that's it. That's all. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe. If you guys have any questions, comments, feel free to leave them down below. And as always, I will talk to you guys soon. Peace.